Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I'm going to share how I would go from $0 to $100,000 this year, and then scaling from $100,000 to $1,000,000 and so on. And there's a couple of different potential strategies that we're going to talk about in this video, but I want to be sure to give you some basic case studies of some of my friends and people that I know who have done this in a year or less. They've gone from 0 to 100,000 and kind of their story and what they've done to accomplish this, because it's certainly not an easy feat to go from 0 to 100K in a year. So let's go ahead and get started with this video. Now, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm not going to wait 5 minutes to get into the point here. We're just going to go straight to it. I think one of the biggest things that people kind of, a trap that they fall into is they think about what business should they start, and they kind of go through like this shiny object thing where you try to start a business, you do it for 2 months, it doesn't really work out, so you move on to the next one, and you keep doing that over and over again for a long period of time. I know I certainly did that. And instead of thinking about what business should you start, I think you should kind of shift the mindset a little bit and start thinking about what skill should you develop. Because this is the best and probably the most surefire way to get to $100,000 is by developing some type of skill and then being able to monetize that skill in a variety of different ways, okay? So I'll give you a few examples of people who have done this. So someone like Paddy Galloway, right? This guy lives and breathes the YouTube algorithm. He is probably the go-to guy for understanding YouTube if you're trying to grow a YouTube channel or you're trying to do anything else, right? And so because he understands it so well, he's able to do, I know in the past he's done consulting for like hundreds of dollars per hour to sell his time to help people grow on YouTube. And now I think he has other products and stuff now where he's scaling up. But basically my point here is that this guy, he doesn't have millions of subscribers, but he just like studied the YouTube algorithm so much to the point where now everyone wants to go to him to understand how does YouTube work, how can they grow, what are the best thumbnails, everything else, right? And because he's the go-to guy now, he can charge a lot of money for that. So he developed a skill. Another example, one of my friends, Matt, right? Matt understands the TikTok algorithm so well to the point where now he's able to sell his services to BlackRock and other large Fortune 500 companies who pay him boatloads of money to say, hey, Matt, how do we do TikTok? How do we understand this? Can you help us grow this? And so he's done that and helped those companies do that because he lives and breathes the TikTok algorithm. He understands everything about it. And, you know, he didn't start off like that, right? He started off not knowing anything about it a couple years ago. And over time, he's been able to develop things and understand it quite a bit because he became obsessive over that specific platform. And so in the capitalist society that we live in today, in the United States, how much you get paid and how much money you make is kind of correlates to the value to businesses that you provide as a person. It's kind of weird, it's kind of messed up in a way, like, but that's just how the world works today, okay? And so let me give you like 3 different tiers of making money and getting paid. And once you kind of like take a step back and you kind of analyze things this way, you'll start to realize the value of certain specific skills and irreplaceability, okay? So let's say, for example, like stocking food on shelves at the grocery store, right? Well, if you had a job doing this, you're probably not getting paid very much, right? Maybe like $10, $15 an hour, something pretty low, right? Why is this the case? Because it's a pretty replaceable job. There's billions of people who can do the same thing of putting cans of food on the shelf. And because there's a lot of people who can replace you, and there's a lot of people who could do that job, it tends to pay pretty low. Then we have kind of like mid-tier, which is things like maybe an accountant or a plumber or, you know, a nurse, or things that are like super important but like they're not as replaceable, right? So like there's not as many people who can be a nurse. There's not as many people who can be an accountant or be a plumber. And so you get paid pretty well. You know, you might make like $50,000 or $100,000, somewhere in that range, right? Because like a lot of people can't do it. You have to be qualified, you have to be licensed, maybe you have to go to college, something like that, right? And then we have kind of like this like very high tier, and that would be like, say, like pro athletes or people who are super difficult to replace for something specific. Like let's say like Jalen Hurts, the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. He just signed a 5-year, $255 million deal. He's basically making $50 million a year to be the quarterback to play professional sports, right? And why is he getting paid so much? Well, because he's extremely difficult to replace. There's like maybe like 5 other guys in the world who could do that exact job to the level that he does it. And so therefore, because there's also a lot of demand, people like watching it, therefore he gets paid a ton of money, okay? I just want to make this clear, like I'm not saying that certain people, like individuals, are more valuable than others, because that's kind of how capitalism like makes it feel sometimes. But that's not what I mean by that. I'm just talking in terms of sheer business in money terms here, so just don't skew my words, okay? But once you sort of understand that, of like the less replaceable you are in businesses, the more value you are providing, and overall the more money you can make. So when you understand something like that, then it helps you to scale to 100,000 or to $1 million or more. And so two other examples here, like one of my friends, she learned how to code very early on when she was in high school, basically self-taught, and then is able to build websites for people. She has a website business where she just builds sites for people, charges like $5,000 to build these really beautiful sites for them, designs them herself too. But she codes all of it. She taught herself, and it's difficult to replace. Like, it's hard to find people who can really do that in a great way, build custom sites like that, right? So there's so many different opportunities there, but setting yourself apart from the rest of the pack is really one of the best ways to make money fast. Now, I want to share the strategy that I would use today to build a business to $100,000 this year. But before we do that, I want to share something with you that I do consistently, which is buying Bitcoin on Cash App. So Cash App is the easiest way to send, spend, save, and invest in Bitcoin. The app is super smooth, and it makes the process of buying, selling, and transacting in Bitcoin so much easier. I feel like there's always been like this stigma that Bitcoin is really complicated, but Cash App simplifies the process, and it's making it more accessible for people like you and me. So if you've been following me for a while, then you know that I've been buying small amounts of Bitcoin for my investment portfolio since 2017. It's been like 6 years I've been doing this. And Cash App makes it super easy for you to not only buy, but to also get paid in Bitcoin, to send Bitcoin to others for free via the Lightning Network on Cash App, and then so much more as well. So I would say one of my favorite features on Cash App is probably that it allows you to automatically invest a portion of your paycheck into Bitcoin. And so you don't have to go in and manually buy Bitcoin all the time. There's tens of millions of people using this app. It's owned by Block, formerly known as Square, which is one of the largest finance companies in the world. So it's something that I personally trust. So if you want to buy Bitcoin, I'll leave a link to Cash App down below in the description, where you can get started buying Bitcoin with as little as $1. And just a quick disclaimer here, the price of Bitcoin fluctuates, okay? This it changes quite a bit. So please do your own research. You make the investment decisions for yourself. And this segment here, the sponsor segment, is separate from the video title here, talking about going from $0 to $100,000. So thanks, Cash App, for sponsoring this portion of the video, and let's continue on talking about a business that I would start to go from 0 to 100K. Okay, so if I was going to start one specific business this year in 2023, here's what it would be. It would be not just a social media marketing agency that does marketing for like dentists and doctors and your local ice cream shop, because I think that is very flooded, very crowded. Trust me, those local businesses have been getting hammered every day with phone calls and people knocking on the door saying, I can do marketing for you, and they're tired of it. They've heard it from a million people, okay? So stop trying to do marketing for local businesses, and instead, there's a different way that you can do this, okay? And the business is basically social media as a service specifically for influencers or people who are looking to grow their reach online, and really specifically talking about on Twitter or on LinkedIn or through newsletters, because these are all things that can be done through text, and the person can totally outsource this, okay? So I know so many people who outsource their Twitter and their LinkedIn, because there's like LinkedIn creators, and you can like it's really, really valuable, okay? But basically, people are paying thousands of dollars per month to have someone basically ghostwrite for them on Twitter or for their newsletter or on LinkedIn. And the thing with this, and the reason why you can turn this into a very large agency and scale that's way past $100,000, is because you can yourself outsource this. You can land these contracts and then outsource the writers for this. And so I know a bunch of people who are doing this. Some of them are making over $1 million per year by doing this. And the process is relatively simple. So you have, obviously you have a lot of outbound going out to Twitter accounts and to other influencers, but basically offering, look, I can run your entire Twitter account. I can tweet as you, for you, every day, certain amounts of times per day or certain amounts of times per week. And you basically set this up as a package, almost like a SaaS, where you basically are charging a monthly service fee to do this, and this can range anywhere from $500 a month to run someone's Twitter account up to $5,000 per month. I've gotten pitched on this because I was trying to find someone to do this for me. Ultimately, I didn't hire anyone. I just said I'm just going to do this myself because I enjoy tweeting. But someone pitched me like $4,000 a month to take over my Twitter account and post things all the time. And I can tell you right now, like the big influencers, they're not doing these things themselves. Like Alex Hormozi, all of his tweets and stuff, he's not writing that himself. He has someone doing that for him, okay? And so there's so much room here for opportunity. And so if you just get these people on contracts, just month-to-month contracts, and there's ways to get in the door, like for people getting their foot in the door, for me, they do something for free for me. Like they maybe say, hey, I made some potential tweets for you. Here they are for free. If you like them, I'm happy to run your Twitter for you, or something else like that. So I think that's one of the best opportunities specifically on Twitter and for LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is growing a ton for creators. Those are two platforms that I think can work really well. Now, if you want to take this a step further and talking about going from just an agency that's maybe making like a couple $100,000 per year, which is great. But if you're looking to scale this to the next level, then the way to do that is through equity partnerships with creators, with influencers, okay? So what do I mean by this? Look at people like Graham Stephan with Bankroll Coffee, right? He partnered with someone, right? There was someone else. He's not the one who is actually fulfilling the coffee orders. He partnered with someone who's on the operations side who reached out to Graham. I think they reached out to him by sending him like free coffee or something. There's a whole story on it, but they were very creative. They were able to get in contact with Graham and say, hey, let's partner up. I'll run the operations and you kind of run the marketing for Bankroll Coffee. And that was the beginning of it, right? People do this for all kinds of different products with creators, but equity partnerships with creators is one of the best things you can do this year. So on the creator side, we have an anonymous Twitter account where we have a whole setup for it. But basically, we partnered with someone, and he owns 20% of a newsletter. We own 80% of it. We're obviously top of funnel. We're the marketing for it. We funnel tens of thousands of people into the newsletter, and then he is the one who writes it every day and sends it out and does operations for it. So we're an equity split, right? He just reached out to us. He just said, hey, I'm looking to work. I'm happy to do anything. And I said, hey, let's do an equity partnership. Now this guy's making thousands of dollars per month with his equity partnership with us because he just reached out to us and said, hey, I want to run a newsletter. And me saying, instead of paying you, let's just do an equity partnership. It's working out better for him now. So consider doing something like that. Reach out to influencers, say, hey, I'll run your newsletter for you. And you can either charge them cash or do it for free and say give me 10, 20, 30% of the revenue from it. Something along those lines can be really, really effective as a business. So there's so many different ways you could take this. There's truly a ton of different ways that you could go about with this. But that's my suggestion for some of the best low-hanging fruit this year to go from $0 to $100,000 as fast as possible. The best thing about service businesses, and the reason why I like them over something like e-commerce or Amazon or other types of businesses, is because there's no overhead cost. It's just you, right? It's your service, and you're charging money for your time rather than trying to buy products and store them in your garage and then mail them out every day because you're doing physical products. That's such a mess. I've done physical products in the past. We still do have some equity and some different partnerships on those, but for the most part, it's a lot of headache. Okay, so service businesses, no overhead cost, very low cost to get started. So that's what I would suggest doing. And don't go out and buy a bunch of online courses about this. You can learn this for free. If you want to become an expert on something, you can learn it for free. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you found some value in it. And I'll see everybody next time at some point in the future. Don't forget to check out Cash App as well. Yeah, see ya.